Oh, this is essentially for the game here. This is for the game here. I'm coming in so late. But it's always fun. Oh, it's always fun to see some of these potential game winning or game tying drives. Hope everything is okay in terms of this. That's one. What's going on, Josh? What is going on, Josh? We got a little thing to talk about here. Give me a second as I usually take a little bit to get my whole setup here. Just missed out right there. Pressure's coming. He just missed him there. That was a 3rd and 10. Had the opportunity to get that first down here. Now it's a 3rd and 10 with 2:10 left. It's 4 down territory. You can't punt the football back. So this is where things get very, very funky. Gotta get this here. Pressure's coming. Love floats it to the middle of the field. Oh, he caught it. That's a hell of a catch, and that's gonna take them to the 2-minute warning. Green Bay needs to get into field goal range. So we're gonna see what happens here. Meanwhile, I am getting set up for my state of the AFC North address, which it's an interesting one to discuss here. Could have sworn I had it set up somewhere. I can't find it. Wow, I would have sworn I had this up at some point. I can't seem to find that thing. Really? Huh. So I'm just getting set up here and I'm looking for something here and I can't find anything. Interesting. Hmm. Yeah, I see that. I see that. Wow. I'm a little bit surprised. Didn't expect it to be like this, but hey, we can backpedal to find this here. Where you at? 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 There we go. I don't think we have anything to worry. Yep, never mind. Oh boy. Trying to get everything set up here. Delete some of these off. And actively forgetting to turn some of these things on. Doesn't even matter at this point. Really don't matter, but I gotta get this set up here. And then we can get started. Now we're gonna get started, but we also gotta see how the end of this game goes. So let's see if Green Bay gets into field goal range, if they're able to get a game winning touchdown. Are we going to overtime? Here we go. Love's got time. Pressure's coming. He's gonna try to float it. trying to get it to um Jacobs, and they could not connect. Second and 10. Love's got a little time. He's deep drop back here. He's going deep. He's got a man who drops the pass on 2nd and 10. That is a catch you have got to make given the circumstances here. You got to make that catch. You have got to make that catch given the circumstance here. 3rd down and 10. It is not an easy play. Not an easy catch in that situation, but you got to catch the ball there. Not an easy catch, but you've got to catch the ball there. Our team went from 4-1 to 5-4 in 4 weeks with our division rival right behind one game. I mean, it was to be expected. The Steelers do this every single year. That's why, again, we know how this whole process is going to go. Pittsburgh does this every year. It's not even a surprise. 3rd and 10 here. Now you got the pressure on you. Love just checks it down. Musgrave's going to be a yard short, maybe 2 yards short, and now it's 4th and short here with the game on the line. All right, 4th and 1. You got to give this to Jacobs here. You got to give this to Jacobs here. You can't put this in the air. You got to give this to Jacobs. Flag, flag, flag. There's a flag. There's a flag. If this is on Green Bay, the game's over. If this is on Green Bay, the game is over. If it's on Philly, they keep this drive alive. Oh my goodness. That's game. That's game. Man, I'm not going to lie, bro. I can't buy into this Packers team. I thought I could, but this offense just doesn't. This offense gives you no belief. It gives you no motivation. It wouldn't have even mattered if that was it wouldn't have mattered if that wasn't a fumble. It's an illegal formation. Then again, if it was a legal formation, they would have had to do the play over again. But this Phillies team, not Phillies team, this Packers team, they give you no faith. They give you no belief. I don't know what to tell you, man. If you're a Packers fan, look at the state of your team. Do you believe this team can go and win? Now, in a game like this, it's a 10-7 game. Philadelphia is one of those teams you've got to deal with in the conference. But if you look at the NFC this year, it's a powerhouse. Philadelphia, LA, Detroit, Seattle. You've got some real difficult teams to go through. Some real serious teams. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. You act like it was my choice. You act like I told the Ravens to just let him walk away instead of just having him be the head coach. Please don't say that. I didn't have a choice. Please don't thank me. Thank the Ravens organization for not hiring him. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice in the matter. I didn't go to Seattle and say, hey, feel free to take Mike Macdonald. I didn't have a freaking choice in that one. Go thank the Ravens. Be sure to hit up the Ravens social media team and say thank you for Mike Macdonald because they're the ones that gave him away. They could have chose to make him the next head coach of the Ravens and then just moved Harbaugh to the front office. They didn't. I didn't have a choice in the matter. I said Macdonald should be the head coach. They said we'll stick with Harbaugh. I didn't have a choice. So please don't thank me. I didn't do nothing. Please thank the Ravens. Please. And don't bring it. Don't thank me. Don't say thanks specifically here on the stream. Go to the Ravens social media page and say thank you to them because this needs to be heard by them. This needs to be heard by them. The fans don't need to have these comments in our space. Please go to the Ravens social media team and say thank you for Macdonald. Please tweet that to them directly because they need to hear this, not me. They're the ones that made that mistake. I said make him the next head coach. I said it all year. This guy should be our next head coach. The transition is easy. We'll be fine. They said, no, let's let him walk. And he went to Seattle and look at the situation. But yeah, I'm not trusting this Packers team. I don't look at Green Bay as a team that I would put my faith and trust in. Look at the state of his offense, man. This offense is not. You can't buy into this Packers offense. I can't buy into Green Bay winning against some of these top tier teams come January. I can't. Against Detroit, maybe. Like if it's guys within their division, maybe. Detroit, maybe. But against LA, I would not pick the Packers. Against Seattle, I would not pick the Packers. Against Philadelphia, I would not pick the Packers. I don't trust this Packers team, and it's because of the offense. If you're on the defensive side, you've got to be frustrated because their losses this year have been the teams they shouldn't lose to, and it's because the offense can't deliver. How many times is the offense going to look like this? When the offense can't deliver, it affects everybody. It severely affects everybody. The offense's inability to deliver in these type of games, that's got to be frustrating. That's got to be absolutely frustrating. What's going on, Vonnie? That's got to be absolutely frustrating. We're getting ready to get started soon. But if you're a Packers fan, if you're a Packers defender, this has got to be frustrating. The defense is doing their job. The defense is doing their job. The offense is not carrying their weight. When you need the offense to show up most, the offense doesn't show up. How can you trust in the Green Bay Packers to do anything come January when the offense is the problem? And this is the biggest issue with them. You can't trust them offensively. Take a look at the losses they've suffered this year. Other than the weird tie game, the losses they've suffered, they lost to the Panthers 16-13. They lost to the Browns 13-10. Look at this. Your defense holds Cleveland to 13 points. That was when Flacco was there. You hold them to 13 points, and your offense, you had a 10-point lead, and your offense chokes. You lose 16-13 to the Carolina Panthers. You can't trust this offense. And as long as you can't trust this offense, you cannot believe the Packers are going to do anything come January. Because when you're looking around the state of the NFC, you got to deal with Philadelphia, you got to deal with Detroit, you got to deal with LA, you got to deal with Seattle. The Packers are one of the odd men out. They're one of the odd men out when you look at them and say, I don't think they can beat any of those four teams in the postseason. What's up, Real? Hope things are going well for you. Yeah, they're going pretty chill so far. I'm not going to lie, guys. We are getting ready to get started. I just want to see the end of this game. And we're not going to be here too long. Maybe 30 minutes to discuss this. But this should have been done so much sooner. I will not lie to you guys. I came home from work. I was tired. I got something to eat. I said, let me go chill out in my room. Let me relax. That was a mistake. I went to my room to relax. I passed out. I was out for several hours. When I woke up, I realized, oh my God, the Eagles-Packers game is on, and I wanted to see it. I missed the entire first half of the game, which is hilarious to me because when I looked at the score at the start of the third quarter, it was 0-0, and I'm like, what's going on in this game? 0-0? What do you mean 0-0? So they're going to get about 20 seconds left. They need to get into field goal range. They're going to have like about 20 seconds left to go in this game where they're going to have no timeouts. It wasn't the end of the road for them, but it's just like they got more like 30 seconds left. The opportunity is here. Green Bay could potentially get the ball back here. Honestly, it's 4th and 6. So I think what Philadelphia is trying to do is see if they can catch. I don't think Philly's going to snap this ball. I think at the end of the day, Philadelphia just wants to see if they can get them with the hard count. Because if they make it 4th and 1, it becomes different. They make it 4th and 1, they go for the tush push. But I don't think they were going to go for it here. They just wanted to run this clock down and see if they can get them on a hard count or something. Either way, they're calling the timeout here. They got the clock down to as low as they can. They're gonna punt this ball. You need a very, very low punt. You need a light punt here to try to put them at the 10 or something. But we are gonna get started just after we see what happens with this game. If it goes into overtime, then we'll start discussing this, and then we'll be periodically checking up as to what's happening here. But if you look at Green Bay, man, you cannot buy into this team. You can't buy into the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. You cannot buy into the Green Bay Packers as a legitimate threat. But the state of this offense doing this, I can't buy into it. And Philly's offense ain't doing much better either. But Philadelphia has the capability of getting it done in these moments. They did it last year. They've been doing it in games like this year. They went for it on 4th down. Why did they go for it on 4th down? Why would you go for it on 4th down? You just gave them better field position. It's a 3-point game. Why would you go for this on 4th down? That was so stupid. The game is essentially over. You just punt the ball and put them at the 10. They have to go down the field with no timeouts. Now you put them at what? They're right at the 40. They just need 25 yards to get the field goal range. Just 27 seconds left. What is Philadelphia doing? You could have kicked the field goal. You could have kicked the field goal if you wanted to try to score. You put them at the 35. They need a good 20 to 25 yards to get in the field goal range. What were you thinking, Philadelphia? Now your defense has to answer the call. And here goes Love down the field. Incomplete. No flag on the play. You're lucky. 20 seconds left. You could have kicked the field goal. You could have punted and put them down at the 10. Why? You could have kicked the field goal or chose to punt it and put it at the 10. But why would you? And they went to the 35-yard line. That's field goal range. Why didn't they kick the field goal? Why didn't they kick the field goal? I don't understand this type of thinking. See, Philly's just making questionable decisions. This is where you got to look at the coach. What are you thinking here? You're in field goal range. You're at the 35-yard line. You can kick a field goal here. You're at the 35-yard line. You can kick a field goal here. You're in field goal range. Kick the field goal. 2nd and 10, 19 seconds left. Love guns it down the middle of the field. It is caught. They've got to hurry up and go and try to spike this. I don't know if they're going to have a lot of time to do that, though. Five seconds left. The only thing they could hope for at this point is to get a quick throw towards the sideline. 5 seconds left in the game. Are they going to kick this from here? They're going to kick this. A 64-yard field goal at Lambeau Field. It's a cold, windy night in Lambeau Field, and I'm expected to believe he's going to make this 64-yarder. This would be epic if he did. This would be epic if he finds a way to make this kick. I don't know. In the wind at Lambeau Field, 64-yard field goal? I don't see it. Philadelphia is going to call a timeout. And the funny thing is they got a chance to snap it, and he missed it. They got a chance to snap it before the timeout, and he missed it. He missed it wide, and it was short. He's not making this kick. He got a practice kick, completely missed it. It missed wide, and it was short. He's not getting this. They got to get some yardage. And now you got to kick the field goal. And now you got to kick the field goal. You got to kick the field goal. You ain't got a choice now. Well, McManus, he kicked it. It was too long, so I don't expect him to make this kick. It was too long. It was too long. 64-yard field goal in the wind at Lambeau Field. He had a kick attempt. The Eagles called a timeout, so the kick attempt was not there. If he makes this, that'll be a hell of a kick. But he missed it. The wind's out there affecting this. It was wide and it was short. I don't know if he's making this kick, man. Blocked. Not even close. That wasn't even close. Philadelphia takes the win here. Again, Philly nearly cost themselves in this game for no reason. That was a dumb decision to not kick the field goal. But you know what? Eagles get the win. They're 7-2 now. Packers are 5-3-1. I can't trust Green Bay, man. This offense this offense right here. This is the fourth straight win versus Green Bay, including the playoffs. The second longest streak in this series. I cannot trust the Eagles. I'm not Eagles. I cannot trust the Packers. I cannot trust the Packers. I don't see them beating Philadelphia in the playoffs. I don't know how they'll do against Detroit. I don't know how they'll do it against Seattle. I don't know how they'll do it against LA. I just don't trust them against those teams. I don't look at Green Bay as a team that can go the distance. They'll make the playoffs, but this is not a team that you're going to put faith and trust in and say they're going to be able to go the distance. With the way this offense plays, you can't buy into them. Anyway, guys, let's get into what we are here for. This is the State of the AFC North address. It's a perfect time to discuss this because things are starting to heat up in the AFC North. Excuse me while I knock my glasses down. We don't have a lot of things to cover here because I think next week will be a better opportunity to talk about the state of the AFC North because it's officially AFC North week. It's AFC North week. The Ravens. So we've got the Ravens taking on the Browns and the Bengals taking on the Steelers. So these two matchups will be happening on Sunday. It will be happening on Sunday. It should be an interesting one. It's a big part of why we have to talk about the state of the AFC North, which we'll be back next week to talk about because everything could potentially shake up. To speak on things last week, or because week 10 is not officially over, so I can't say last week. Last week, there's a lot of things to speak of. First of all, last week, the Baltimore Ravens, yesterday, if you want to say, because, it's officially last week because this game's over, so week 10 is done. So last week, yesterday, whatever you want to say, the Ravens took on the Vikings. The Steelers took on the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. The Ravens got the victory. They got the 27-19 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. The Steelers got the Steelers took an L. The Chargers got the 25-10 victory over the Steelers. Ravens lost. Oh my God, I'm messing myself up now. Ravens got the 27-9 victory over the Vikings, so they won. Steelers got beaten up in the fourth quarter and lost 25-10. Steelers get the loss. Ravens get the win. Steelers drop to 5-4. Ravens move up to 4-5. The Ravens are one game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers for the first place spot in the AFC North. Right now, Pittsburgh is 1-1 in the AFC North. Baltimore is 1-0 in the AFC North. And I guess I could have done it like this, but this will be 0-1 for me. This will be 1-0 for you. Depends on how it's looking. I don't know. Either way, the Ravens are undefeated so far in the division, and the Steelers have already taken a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are actually 2-0 in the division right now, which makes things even more interesting here. This week, the Ravens will be taking on the Cleveland Browns, and the Steelers will be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Ravens win against Cleveland and the Pittsburgh Steelers lose against the Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore will go to 2-0 in the division. Pittsburgh will fall to 1-2. They'll be at 5-5. The Ravens will be at 5-5. Ravens take first place in the AFC North. So we could be sitting here next week and things could be shaking up in the AFC North in terms of seeding. So Baltimore right now is in the 10th spot in the AFC. A win and a Steelers loss moves them all the way up to 4th place. They'll be first in the AFC North because they'll have the divisional record advantage over the Steelers, and they'll be the 4th seed in the AFC if things go that way come Sunday night. Because the Steelers and Bengals are going to play at 1 o'clock. The Ravens and Browns will play at 4 p.m. So Baltimore will know if they have the opportunity to take first place in the AFC North by the time they're getting ready to play. Because the Bengals and Steelers play first, we'll have an idea of what happens in that game, and we'll go from there. So, the AFC North could immediately shift within the next week if Baltimore wins and Pittsburgh loses. But there's an element that has to play into this because if the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're at 3-6 right now. If the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, they will become 4-6, but they will be 3-0 in the AFC North. So they'll be undefeated in the North. They haven't faced off against this so far this year. We'll be facing off against them soon on Thanksgiving. Speaking of Thanksgiving, this is where things got even more spicy, which is a big part of why we're talking about this. So the Ravens start at 1-5. Lamar missed time. Several of their starters missed time. They got healthy. They're going on this run. They've won 3 straight. They're 1 game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, who started 4-1, have now lost 3 of their last 4 games. They sit at 5-4, and they're on the verge of potentially giving up this huge lead that they had early on in the division. Baltimore is back in action right there to face off against the Pittsburgh Steelers for that division. They're right next to them. But Cincinnati, the wild card, is still alive in this. And if they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, they'll be 3-0 in the AFC North with an opportunity of themselves potentially taking that first place spot. And keep this in mind. Ravens, Bengals, Thanksgiving. We got a huge update. And I'm sure some of you guys have said it in the comments. We've got a huge update. Joe Burrow is back. He is officially back and practicing. They have opened up the 21-day period for him. That means he is officially ready to practice, and the possibility of him coming back is sooner rather than later. The expectation was that he'd be back at some point in December. So I was thinking maybe week 15. It might have been longer, but he was expected to be back in December. But now there's a possibility he could be back week 13. Week 13 happens to mix up with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, Ravens, Bengals. If the Bengals beat the Steelers here, they'll be 3-0. If Baltimore beats Cleveland, they will be 2-0. The 2-0 Ravens taking on the 3-0 Bengals in the division, not in terms of their record, because Baltimore is going to be 5-5. Cincinnati's 4-6 if they beat the Steelers. Now, again, there's still a game out. There's still another game out before Thanksgiving. So Ravens will play on the Browns. Bengals play the Steelers, and then after that, Ravens play the Jets. So the Ravens, if the Ravens win against the Jets and the Browns, they will officially be at 6-5. And if the Bengals win their next two games, they'll be at 5-6. Now things will get interesting. Let me see what the Bengals' next game is after the Steelers. Because if they beat the Steelers, who do they have next? Let me see. After the Steelers, the Bengals have... Oh, nah. Oh, my God. Look at this schedule for them. I mean, things ease up, but their next 4 games, at Steelers, against the Patriots, at Baltimore. Let me look at it. No, their next 5 games. 3 of those are divisional matchups, but still. At Steelers, against the Patriots, at Baltimore, at Buffalo, and then at home against the Ravens. They've got to find a way to win 3 of these 5 games. I'm not going to lie. They want to get back into the race. So let's make the assumption here. To play the scenario for the Cincinnati Bengals getting first place in the AFC North, assuming, let's just say Baltimore loses to Cleveland and then beats the Jets, and Bengals win both games against the Steelers and the Patriots, that will put the Ravens at 5-6, and that will put the Bengals at 5-6. They would be first place in the AFC North because they would have a better divisional record. Let's play the other scenario. Baltimore wins both their games. Cincinnati wins both their games. Baltimore will be 6-5. Cincinnati will be 5-6. Heading into that Thanksgiving game, Baltimore will be 2-0 in the division. Cincinnati will be 3-0 in the division. The winner of that Thanksgiving game would potentially take first place in the AFC North. That's the type of scenario we're thinking of here. So, Baltimore can take first place in the AFC North if they win on Sunday against the Browns and the Steelers lose to the Bengals. Cincinnati could take first place in the AFC North in 1 or 2 scenarios within the next few weeks. Either they win their next 2 games, i.e. beat the Steelers and then beat the Patriots somehow, or they beat the Steelers and the Ravens lose their next 2 games, i.e. losing to the Browns and losing to the Jets. That would give them first place. If the other scenario happens where they beat the Steelers, they beat the Patriots, and the Ravens beat the Browns and beat the Jets, Thanksgiving would be the matchup that ultimately determines who is going to take first place in the AFC North. Cincinnati's not out of this yet. If they get Joe Burrow back, if the best case scenario, I know that Cincy defense is terrible, so who knows what's going to happen. Especially against the Patriots, I don't see them winning that game. But if they do, this gets really interesting. Because despite them looking like they're out of it, they win their next 2 games and you get Joe Burrow back, no matter what the scenario is. Whether Baltimore loses their next 2 or Baltimore wins their next 2. If Cincinnati wins their next 2 games, they'll have a matchup on Thanksgiving with Baltimore with first place on the line. That's all you can ask for if you're the Bengals. Now, Joe Burrow is back at practice. He's targeting that Thanksgiving game. He does not have any sort of leverage or contribution that he can bring in these next 2 games. He can't impact these next 2 games because he's not on the field. Joe Flacco's going to have to hold it down. And I told you guys when Joe Burrow went down, I said the season is not over for the Bengals. As long as they can float around 500, the opportunity will be there. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to hold on to that lead. Baltimore, if they get healthy, they can come back. And Cincinnati, if they float around 500, they can compete for the divisional crown. Here we are now. The scenario's there. Baltimore takes first place if Pittsburgh loses next week and they beat the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati takes first place if they win their next 2 games. Better yet, I'll say they win their next 3 games. If they win their next 3 games, no matter what, Cincinnati will be in first place. If they beat the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Ravens, no matter what happens, they'll be in first place. Whether the Ravens win their next 2 or not, if Cincinnati wins their next 3 games, they take first place in the AFC North. Yeah, we'd love to get some help if Baltimore and Pittsburgh would just start losing games because that would help them out. If Pittsburgh loses and then Baltimore loses one of the next 2 games and Cincinnati just keeps winning, Cincinnati will take first place. But in order for the Bengals to claim first place heading into December, they need to win their next 3 games. At Pittsburgh, at home against the Patriots, at Baltimore for Thanksgiving. If Baltimore wants to take first place, they've got to win their... If they want to take first place, they got to beat the Browns and hope the Steelers lose to the Bengals, and then they got to keep winning out. Right now, odds significantly favor the Ravens. They've got an easier schedule, especially because when you're looking at this, Pittsburgh's got some tough matchups too. Just if we're going to take a look at the next few games here, let me look at this right here for the Steelers. Let's name the next 5 games for each team. The Steelers' next 5 games: at home against Cincinnati, on the road in Chicago, at home against the Bills, on the road against Baltimore again, and then they're at home against the Dolphins. So the next 5 games: Bengals, Bears, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins. Yeah, I can see them winning the Dolphins game. They might win the Bears game. They could definitely win against the Steelers. I could see them getting at least 2 wins, if not 3. So the opportunity is right there. I could see 2 or 3 wins for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But at this point, it doesn't. Let me tell you, the Bears game and the Bills game does not matter. Right now, with the division being close, it's about winning within your division. That's why Cincinnati's still in it. They're 2-0. If they beat the Steelers, they're 3-0. All you got to do is win your division. This year in the AFC North, the winner of the division is going to the playoffs. That's it. You're not getting a wild card spot any other way. The winner of the division is going to be the only team going to the playoffs in the AFC North. So you have to win the division. Steelers' next 5 games: Bengals, Bears, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins. They can win 2 if not 3 of those games. Cincinnati's next 5 games: on the road against Pittsburgh, at home against New England, on the road against Baltimore, on the road against Buffalo, at home against Baltimore. So the Bengals' next 5 games: Pittsburgh, New England, Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore. The opportunity's right in front of everybody in this division. Baltimore's next 5 games: at Cleveland, at home against the Jets, at home against the Bengals, at home against the Steelers, on the road against Cincinnati. Baltimore, they've had 3 straight road games here. The Dolphins, the Vikings, and now their 3rd straight road game is going to be against Cleveland. But after that, Baltimore is at home for the next 3 games, and then they got to go on the road to Cincinnati. So this thing makes things very interesting here. Baltimore, everyone has multiple division games. Let's see. Baltimore in the next 5 games, we've got 1, 2, 3. Baltimore has 4 divisional games over the next 5 games. Cincinnati has 1, 2, 3 divisional games, and Pittsburgh has 1, 2 divisional games. Let me tell you this right now. The ball is in Baltimore's court. The ball is in Baltimore's court. Baltimore had 4 of the next 5 matchups for the Ravens are against divisional rivals. 3 of the next matchups for Cincy are against divisional rivals, and 2 of the next 5 games are against divisional matchups for Pittsburgh. So if you're taking a look at this here, the Ravens could put themselves in the position to actively be in the lead and take control of this division within the next 5 games. Cleveland, Cincinnati twice, and then Pittsburgh. This 5-game stretch is for the season if you're Baltimore. because you're not going to make the playoffs via wild card. You have to win the division. Baltimore's season is on the line. I'm telling you that nobody, the Patriots game, the Packers game, those games are irrelevant. It's about winning in the division. Baltimore, 4 of your next 5 games are against divisional foes. You've got the Browns, the Steelers, and the Bengals twice. The ball is in your court, Baltimore. This is your season right here. If Baltimore goes 5-0, they're winning the division. It doesn't matter what happens in the next 3 games, be it the Patriots, who cares? Baltimore goes 5-0 these next 5 games, they're taking the AFC North. Because at that point, they're going to have the tiebreaker. They go 5-0 they go 5-0 these next games, they'll be 5-0 in the division. Remember, Ravens, there's a chance that your last game may be a Sunday Night Football to a win or go home game. If Baltimore handles business these next 5 games, it won't come down to that. If Baltimore legitimately handles these next 5 games, it won't come down. Baltimore goes 5-0, they're sitting at 4-5. Baltimore goes 5-0, they'll be 9-5. 9-5 and 5-0 in the division. This is crazy. Y'all played Joe Flacco 3 times this season. No, Nicholas. If you haven't heard, Joe Burrow is back. He has a 21-day period that he's going to go through before they have to fully activate him and go through that whole process. Joe Burrow is targeting Thanksgiving. Joe Burrow could be back for the Thanksgiving game. And if he's not back for the Thanksgiving game, he'll certainly be back for the December 14 game that we'll play. So we're not going to play Flacco 3 times. Possibly we play him on Thanksgiving, so we'll play him twice. But we're not playing Joe Flacco 3 times this season. We will not be playing Joe Flacco 3 times this season. Because Joe Burrow's either going to play on Thanksgiving or he'll be back for the December 14 game. But we won't be playing Flacco 3 times this year. We might play him one more in the Thanksgiving game if Burrow's not good to go. But that 3rd game in Cincinnati, no, we're playing Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. So we will not be playing Flacco 3 times this year. We will not be playing Flacco this 3 times. Burrow is going to play for one, if not both those games. He is actively targeting a return for that Thanksgiving game. But the clock is ticking here right now for Baltimore. This is your season right here. I don't care about the game against the Patriots and the Packers and all this other stuff. We'll deal with that when we deal with that. But these next 5 games, Baltimore, if it's playoff mode right now that you're in, if it's about making sure you get back in this, Baltimore right now, you got to win the next 5 games. You beat the Browns, you beat the Bengals twice, you beat the Steelers, you set yourself up to win this division because you'll be at 9-5 and 5-0 in the division. And no matter what happens, you'll have the tiebreaker. You will. Because Pittsburgh, it don't matter. Pittsburgh right now is 1-1. Cincinnati's 2-0. You beat them twice, they'll be 2-2. You beat the Steelers once, that'll be 2 losses. Let me tell you this right now. Baltimore's season's right in front of them. Cleveland's out of this. Pittsburgh's got 1 divisional loss. If Baltimore beats them, that's 2 divisional losses. Cincinnati has 0 divisional losses. If Baltimore sweeps them, that's 2 divisional losses. If Baltimore goes 5-0 the next 5 games against they go 5-0 these next 5 games, which 4 of the 5 games will be against divisional rivals. They'll be 9-5 and 5-0 in the division. If they're 5-0 in the AFC North, they win the tiebreaker. That's as simple as that. They win the tiebreaker. So unless Baltimore has a worse record than Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, and again, if they're 9-5, I don't think they'll have a worse record than those guys. There's no way they blow it unless they just lose their last 3 games and have a worse record than one of the other 2, which is possible. But if you go 5-0, you clinch this. If Baltimore goes 5-0, they're going to have the tiebreaker over every team in the AFC North because they would have beaten the Bengals twice. They would have beaten the Steelers once, which would have delivered them their 2nd divisional loss. And at that point, the best you can get from Cincinnati and Pittsburgh is for them to go 4-2 in the division. Which, I mean, if they can go 4-2, that's great. But the possibility of that happening is relatively low, especially Cincinnati if they lose both games. So, yeah. Yeah, the non-divisional games are insurance, but right now it's about winning the AFC North. So Baltimore goes 5-0 the next 5 games. They're going to all but guarantee themselves first place in the AFC North. And those last 3 games, you'll have to handle your business to make sure you don't lose out and potentially open the door for Pittsburgh or Cincinnati. So Baltimore's season is right in front of them. It's right in front of them. This is the season right here. These next 5 games will determine the AFC North. These next 5 games will determine it. Because at the end of the day, if Baltimore goes 5-0, they win the divisional tiebreaker. If Baltimore goes 5-0, they win the tiebreaker. Because they'll be the worst they can get is 5-1. That wouldn't be enough to break the tie. So if Baltimore goes 5-0 these next 5 games, they'll be 5-0 in the AFC North. They have the tiebreaker. So the only way anybody is going to be able to take the division from them is if they have a better record than them. Which means if Week 18 comes down to it, where actually no, if it comes down to Baltimore and Pittsburgh heading into Week 18, and Baltimore has a 1-game lead over Buffalo, not Buffalo, over Baltimore. Oh my God! Wow, I can't talk right now. I gotta go back to sleep. If Week 18, that final game against the Steelers, if Week 18 comes and Baltimore is 1 game ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, then it's not going to matter. At that point, that means Baltimore is going to clinch the division because they'll have the tiebreaker if they go 5-0. So Baltimore wins these next 5 games, they all but guarantee they're going to win the AFC North. Now, if both teams have similar records heading into Week 18, that's different. But if Baltimore has a 1-game lead against Pittsburgh heading into Week 18, then Baltimore most likely clinches the division at that point. So we'll have to wait and see how things go there. The Jets game, I'm going to be honest, Nicholas, I can't say the Jets game is a trap game. Baltimore I can't say it's a trap game. I can't say it. I already said it. There's no trap games for the Ravens this year. They've got humiliated left, right, up, and down. They were 1-5 at some point. It's hard to sit back and say it's a trap game here because, again, they are already fighting for their lives. They're not in the playoff race right now. So it's hard to sit back and say the Jets is a trap game. I can't count it. I don't think there's a single game I can look at for the rest of the Ravens schedule that I can sit back and say it's a trap game. Even against the Jets, Baltimore is fighting for their playoff lives. Baltimore and the Jets are in the same position. The only difference is the Jets are not going to... The Jets have no chance to get back in this. The Baltimore Ravens at least have a chance. But if the season ends today, Baltimore and New York are both going to the offseason. Baltimore was 1-5 at one point. They were 1-5 while the Jets were 1-6 at some point. So it's just like, I would love to sit back and say the Jets game is a trap game, but trap games are really there for teams. You know what was a trap game? The Dolphins game. The Buffalo Bills have played like a contending team this year. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They take on the measly Dolphins. That was a trap game. We're not in a position where we can sit back and say we're a trap. We haven't been a good football team this year. We have not been a good football team. They're trying to fight their way to become a good football team, but we have not been a good football team. So I can't sit back and